Hello, everyone, and a very good morning to all of you. It's a lovely Saturday morning, and I thank the school reformers for inviting me to share some of my knowledge about early childhood education and education in general, where we are actually looking forward for developing critical thinkers because I think that's the need of the hour. The future is very unprecedented. We really do not know that our children who are right now in schools, what future holds for them, what future jobs hold for them. But the moment we start early, that is from the early years, what we get to form is a foundation and a base where the children can be more adaptable, they can be more resilient, they can have the perseverance to actually go and be adaptable and flexible and adapt themselves to that unprecedented world that we are talking about. 2020, COVID changed everything. We never know what's going to happen next. The jobs that we were used to are no longer there. AI is taking over. And with all of those, let's see a little bit of what we can do right from the foundation stage, because that is what NEP and NCF are also focusing on, that if the foundation stage is taken care of, the early other stages, the child would be the have the onus and the responsibility of their learning academically, culturally, contributing to the nation, and in all aspects, the child would be a learner and an enabler of a positive change, which is required in the society. So my name is Smriti. I'm Smriti Agarwal, and a little bit about me is that I have been in an education field for the past 3 decades. I'm a children's storybook author. I write the series of Avi and Kia, and with the new book coming in very soon in the middle of this year, it's all about social emotional development in children through stories. So anyone who's interested can get in touch with me for that. And right now, like my screen is shared, I will be sharing a PPT with all of you so that you have some visual and some graphical imagery also with my talk. So that's a little bit about me on the first slide. And of course, the meeting is recorded. You can check it out later. Let's not waste time on that. And you can go to my LinkedIn profile. You'll get to know everything about me. So let's start with Gandhiji. So the Gandhiji's education philosophy, even for early years and for later on, was very simple. He's had the 3H policy. That is, if in education the head, heart, and hand are involved and engaged purposefully, education actually takes place. What do you mean by actually taking place is that whatever learning outcomes we are looking forward to, whatever we want the child to learn, the child would learn the best if the head, heart, and hands are engaged purposefully in all activities. And how do we do that? So we have to take care of the fact where whenever we are planning activities for the children or we are planning on the concepts or the pedagogy or the syllabus or how you're going to teach a particular unit or a chapter or a concept to a child, the main part is design activities where they have to think, they have to do, and what are their feelings after or while doing the activity. So the feelings have to be involved. When your head, heart, and hand is involved, the learning is permanent. It goes from the short term memory to the longer term memory. The same thing, and on those lines, if you see Montessori's education philosophy, Montessori said the three things that should be involved in education should be the brain, the muscles, and the senses. Quite similar, but of course, these are the things that we have to take care of. If you want to nurture critical thinkers, we need not only worry about the cognitive development or the brain or the IQ level. We have to see that the child as a whole is involved in the learning process. So developmental domains, if you're talking about, somehow or the other, while going to the primary and middle school, we forget about them because it's always considered that developmental domains are for the foundation stage or for the preschool or the early year stage. True, it begins from there, begins right from birth onwards. But the main factor is that they are still with us and it is still with all of us as adults, as human beings. So whether you say the cognitive development is there, we are developing every time we are gaining knowledge, we are learning something new. So cognitive development is there. And when we're talking about cognitive development, Along with it comes the social and emotional development factor, which helps us in all areas of our life, not only in school, not only while we are students, but even otherwise, when we are doing a job, when we are leaders in an organization. Social and emotional development actually regulates how are we going to behave, how are we going to be dealing with other people. So when you talk cognitive development, you talk about social and emotional development, we talk about physical development. Now, physical good habits developed early in life are going to last a lifetime. And we always say health is wealth. Because if you're healthy, we can work. If you're healthy, we can do a lot more and achieve more, lot more. But in case the body is not well, we have health issues, half of our productivity gets crushed. So, of course, that this is for approaches to learning. So, what is our approach towards learning, towards life? How many initiatives do we take? How much of productivity do we give in? Do we have resilience in us? Will we try and try again till the time we do not get it right? Do we have a growth mindset? What is our communication and language skills? How good are we during communications? Are we listening enough? Are we talking before talking? Are we thinking? So is it like it's a thoughtful communication? Is it, yeah, you're good listener? Are you listening to the other person? Is it a two-way communication? Communication and language development. And then comes creative and aesthetic development. Now, with creativity, there should be an aesthetic sense also. Now, that aesthetic sense is not that we're going to appreciate artists and the artists of the world. It's basically appreciating the beauty wherever you see it, whether in a person or in nature, on your workplace, in your school, as a teacher, as a child. So, this is what we are talking about, that there should be these developmental domains which should be catered to in the education field right from the beginning till the end, and do not leave it midway. So those developmental domains that I just spoke to you about have specific competencies and skills that we are looking at, and they cater to certain subject areas as well. So when we talk about cognitive development, it takes care of your mathematical, logical thinking, problem solving skills, along with the science, scientific thinking and critical thinking and experimentation, creating a hypothesis. So if you're taking care of the cognitive development of the child, we are taking care of these subjects side by side. If you're talking about the language development, they have those four strands of listening, speaking, reading, and writing. That's why we say communication and language. Now, communication is listening and speaking. A child born in a Gujarati family or a Marathi family or a Punjabi family would start talking in that language even without actually learning that ABCDs of the language, correct? The letters or anything. That's a literacy part. What is the part of the communication? What is the part of the language? Language, the first thing is that if we are listening to a particular language, we learn to speak it. And then comes the literacy skills of actually reading and then lastly writing. So writing is the last aspect. Whereas in schools, we pay most emphasis on writing. I do not know why. We have to follow like from listening to writing the all these strands and in that developmental appropriate stages that they are meant to be. Physical development contains of gross motor skills, which are our large muscles, and the fine motor skills, which are our short muscles, mainly catering to the wrist, hand, and fingers. So those are gross and fine motor skills. Now, gross and fine motor skills, most of the teachers know about it, most of the educators know about it, but they neglect sometimes the sensory motor skills, which are developing in early years. Like right from play school, nursery child, when they have sand play, water play, when they're touching and feeling different things and textures. So sensory motor stage is equally important for the early learners. And when you feel certain things, we to teach them about hot and cold, rough and hard and smooth, all of those. But are we giving them enough exploration on those? Then comes the health and self-care. Are we teaching children self-care? Are we teaching about them about healthy habits? Very, very importantly, we have to teach that right from the very beginning in the school stage. And that's why there was a big revolution wherein all the schools agreed to say no to junk food and cold drinks in the school cafeterias. We have to take it further because once they develop certain habits, it's very, very difficult to break in the adult life. Next is the CBSE norm right now, where they are talking about the sugar intake or by the children. The pediatric diabetes that we're talking about, the blood sugar levels in the children, the obesity in the children. These are the kind of things that we should cater to as educators. So there comes the physical development, their health, their well-being, and their motor skills. When we come to the creative and aesthetic development, we talk about visual arts. Those are all your coloring, painting, techniques of printing. And then we also talk about performing arts. And that starts very early in life. That's the most enjoyable part when we have rhymes, we have music, movement, dancing, role play, dramatics. And then, like I said, aesthetic development is about art appreciation, that we see the beauty in the things. You should have some kind of a peer appreciation also. If you have children in your class who are drawing freehand or they're doing some artwork, let's have the other children in the class also see that and talk about it and appreciate it. So we should learn how to appreciate art in each other. Approaches to learning, like I mentioned, productivity, initiative, curiosity, persistence, and resilience. Does the children in your class give up very easily? I can't do it. It's not happening. It's very difficult. It's very hard. Persistence levels are not there. So we have to think about developing those skills in the children slowly, step by step. And then come resilience, that this comes with the growth mindset of getting it right and being at it as many times as I get it wrong. But I will first, my aim and my goal doesn't change. I have to get it right. Now, personal, social, and emotional development is usually taken very lightly in schools, but the main factor is that that is what is going to drive the children towards the approaches to learning, and then the learning is going to happen. So, how much am I aware about myself? Self awareness is the first thing. Once I'm aware of myself, then comes self regulation. Then comes my self management. Can I manage my emotions? Can I manage myself first? My behaviors, my learning. Then comes your social development of making relationships, but also managing them. So if I made a friend, do I have a lasting friend? Am I a good friend myself? How do I manage relationships with my teacher, with my peer, with my parents and family and society at large? Then comes once these are developed, like these are all stage wise competencies. So once you build all of those, then comes responsibility, and lastly comes leadership of leading other people and the group of peers and so on. So when we're talking about these developmental domains, we take care. See, these are stages. Stage wise, if you're taking care of things, they are much more smoother. Once the thing is already in their tweens and their teens, and after that we try to break their habits and we want them to learn things our way, becomes difficult. But habits formed early in life was always helpful, and that is what schools and educators should aim for. So if we are engaging at the minds and heart of our children, like I told you, the 3H also, these are certain questions to be considered by you and by me as an educator, that what should be learned. First and foremost is in today's world and times, where everything, the information is available on net, on social media, on WhatsApp groups, and I don't know how they get to know lots of things. Right or wrong is one thing. That is like the with digital era with responsibility, but they still have it. So if they're getting all the information, what should be learned in schools at at this moment and time, and when should it be learned? So once you decide on, okay, fine, this is going to be the syllabus, these are our goals of education, that this is what should be learned, then it should be, then when should it be learned, in what stage, what grade? And likewise, you will have a progressive curriculum and a progressive education system of, okay, till preschool, they should learn this, and then what do they learn in middle school? What do they learn in senior secondary school? And something for that, the government of has come up with the National Curriculum Framework of 2022 and 23, giving you the age range and the competencies level with curricular goals and learning outcomes. It's all specified, given to you of how and when you should take it. It has to be age and stage and developmentally appropriate. What age and stage the child is in. What developmental milestones has the child already achieved, and where do we take them from there? A specific example for that is writing in nursery. So many parents are enforcing that. So many schools are already having children in nursery writing letters and letters of the alphabet and numbers. But is that age and stage of developmentally appropriate practice? No. Why not? Because their hands are, or for the fine motor skills of holding a pencil and actually writing, is still not developed. The tendons that connects the bones to the muscles and which gives you the wrist movement and the finger movements are still on the developmental stage. They're still developing. So do we consider that whatever syllabus we have, is it age appropriate? For the same reason, right now, the Ministry of Education has cut down on a lot of syllabus which was not required for the children to learn, because they're stepping away from rote learning and coming to the hands-on learning. And when we talk about hands-on learning and project-based learning, it is something that they have to do and learn in a particular grade at a particular age and stage. The next question that we can ask ourselves is, how is it best learned? So when we have a goals ready, when we know when we have to teach it, let's see how do we teach it. Now there are different pedagogy that you can adapt. There can be an amalgamation of it. It can be an eclectic approach where you mix two, three pedagogies also. So you'll have to decide on what kind of pedagogy do I have to have for my students to learn the best. And then comes the last question of how can we tell that we have answered all the above three correctly? And for that, there's observation, there's evaluation, and there is assessments, and that has to be done in a 360-degree manner. That is not only evaluating students' knowledge or their learning ability or their memory ability, but they also have to evaluate yourself as an educator, as a school, how much have been able to achieve, not only academically, but in actually realizing the mission that we set out for. That we wanted the students to learn certain ethics, certain values, certain self progressive skills that we have to teach them. Have we been able to do that as well? So these are the some questions that I want you people to have it, and please answer them for yourself. Now, when we actually do a research and we find out, okay, how children actually learn the best, then these are the few models that we have come across in our research when we're doing a benchmarking, we're researching on different pedagogies, curriculums, and approaches. It has to be an active learning versus a passive learning. A teacher delivering a lesson in the classroom and all the children listening is really not going to be learning as such. It has to be an active learning process. It has to be interactive versus receptive. Children are not receptors. They have a lot of curiosity. They have a lot of questions which needs to be answered. And the teacher has to also, at every moment of teaching, realize whether the children are grasping the concepts correctly or not. So it has to be an interaction between the facilitator and the students. You have to relate the knowledge to their previous learning and previous knowledge. Where are they coming from? There has to be some entry point of a knowledge, of a concept, and then you build on that knowledge. If they do not have any knowledge previously of that particular subject or concept, then you will be treating that concept in a very different manner. But if the children already know some basics of it, then your teaching and your content would be very different. So think about it. Just don't treat all the children in the class or the students that you're teaching in a similar manner, because somebody would be having more knowledge than that previously as well. So let's try and find that out. Experiences has to be a regular feature. If you want critical thinkers in your classroom, they experience, they think, they share. So experiences with hands-on learning, with experimentation has to be a regular feature. Transmission of information should be through hands-on learning. Now, this is the main focus of the schools these days. Like I told you, information is available everywhere. which is the correct information, which is the wrong information first. Secondly, how are we transforming the information or the knowledge to the children? It should be through hands-on learning. We should have resources, we should have labs, we should have the environment where a child can actually learn by doing. So that learning by doing cannot come at home with the parents in a homeschooling system or in a hybrid model or through internet. It should come when I am there as a facilitator guiding the children who are in front of me, giving them the resources required for the same. And then our last thing will come in, that is retention of your imparted learning would be through implementation of that learning. They have to actually do the task where those skills and those competencies or that knowledge of that concept would be utilized. So you have to give them those kind of projects and tasks. So these are the main learning goals. These are the transformatory learning goals to break away from our original rudimentary school system to coming into where knowledge is actually equal, should be equal to understanding. It should not be just knowledge. So teaching should be it should result in a level of understanding. It should not only be academic, it should be intellectual. Now, what is the difference between academics and intellectuals? Academics is again subject wise, concept wise knowledge that I would be having information which I would be memorizing. But whatever knowledge I have gained, if I cannot use it intellectually, then it doesn't have any purpose. It's as simple as what they showed in the Three Idiots, that movie, Amir Khan movie. Yes, where they say that, okay, everybody knew physics, सीखा हम सब ने था, use rancho ने किया. So that is intelligence. If you can use the knowledge that you have, till the time is just focusing on information and as you are just making rote learners who are memorizing skills but actually cannot implement their learning. You have to really focus on skills in this era. Knowledge should actually translate into skills. What kind of skills are we developing in children in school? That is what schools are for. School no skills can be for all the six domains that I mentioned. You say I mentioned the competencies and the skills. So all the skills that are mentioned there, those are the focus areas, including emotional and social skills. What social skills are we developing? How well are we keeping the children in a peer group in a school and a classroom? So, and learners should always be able to learn what is learned through the skill based projects and tasks. What are the dispositions that the children have? In your school, have you ever wondered what is the student's disposition towards learning, their approaches towards learning? Uh, they are born with a disposition to learn because they are all naturally curious. Curiosity is a natural instinct in children. They want to touch everything, they want to feel everything, they want to ask lots of whys, what's, how's. But then, are we answering their questions? And they should have a positive behavior and an attitude towards learning and not like कि मुझे school नहीं जाना है मुझे ये subject नहीं पढ़ना है. These kind of things when we hear from the children, it's we are not trying to find out the reasons behind that. Why is the child doesn't want to study, doesn't want to go to school, or doesn't want to pick up a book? We have to find out what's wrong there and correct it. So we have to basically maneuver their dispositions towards a positive attitudes to learning. And then, very importantly, please, please do not neglect it. What was the child feeling at the time that they were learning, before they were learning, after they're learning? After accomplishment, was there an eureka moment and they said, yay, I have done it? That would stay with them. That feeling of, yes, I have achieved it, they have accomplished something is going to stay with them for a very long time. So just think about it, that are we catering to our education system to lead the children to actually having that realization, um, feeling that pride in their own learnings. So these are some learning dispositions which are set by the Singapore International Foundation. They call it PRAISE, PRAISE, perseverance, reflectiveness, appreciation, inventiveness, a sense of wonder and curiosity, and lot of engagement. Now, if the child has lost the sense of wonderment and curiosity, then what is left? How would they learn? They're not curious about anything to be learned. It's all forced there. So let's think about that. These are the things when you integrate them in your school system, in your curriculum, in your teaching pedagogy, you would get very good critical thinkers, problem solvers, and positive citizens to the nation you would be giving, because they would be logically first thinking about the decisions that they're taking, the steps they're taking, and think about, okay, what will be the end result of this. So when we talk about integrated method of learning, a very common thing is theme-based curriculum that we see from the preschool till the primary school, that they have a theme per month and then they're teaching children through that theme, which is fine. But like I told you, this is a time that we are at a time of change. We are at a time of transformation. So is this theme-based curriculum good enough now also, which has been there since past the 3 decades that I have been in school education? I've always seen it. And it's still prevalent. So is it fine right now that we have that one theme per month solution? Or do we have to make our two-dimensional concepts and themes into a three-dimensional integration? The two-dimensional integration is concepts, you're having that, you're delivering and giving out the facts for the same. Now, the three-dimensional thematic concept would be where the concepts are decided, you're giving the facts for that, but you're also developing the skills in children which are required for them to understand and implement those facts. So the integrated learning system, in short, like right now, whatever I have told you, along with that, you have to understand that it should be an activity-based learning. Subject-specific skills can be taught through concepts, but again, it should result in skills and implementation. There should be differentiated learning strategies that are catered to, because each child is unique and they would be learning differently. So, do you have a differentiated plan? Do you have an individualized learning plan, ILP, for your students in a classroom? One concept, one subject, in one subject, one concept that I'm doing, I can do it in 5 different ways in the same time, also catering to different learners. Are we thinking about that? What are the methods that we are applying for observations and analysis? Is it a 360-degree approach? Are we taking into consideration the portfolios of the children, taking regular observations, having anecdotal journals, reflective journals, and are we telling the children to make their own goals? Do we have a blended learning approach in our schools, that our schools are digitally and technically enabled for having a digital learning as well as a hands-on learning? And what kind of discipline are you following for your theme-based or integrated curriculum? Is it interdisciplinary or is it multidisciplinary? So difference between interdisciplinary and multidisciplinary, if you do not know, interdisciplinary is where all the subjects and the skills and the concepts are intertwined for better learning. That if a child cannot learn a letter S formation, preschool example, with a pencil, then I can give it on a slate. I can give it with a finger tracing on sand. I can do in air writing. And I can also have him walk over an S so that there is a physical involvement to it. So that is like I can teach S through a physical classroom or a math classroom or a sand play classroom, whatever. Multidisciplinary is that I have one concept done in multiple different disciplines. They are all catering to one theme. So usually we have a theme in a subject called EVS, Environmental Studies, and there the theme is there and the other subjects are catering to it. We'll look into that also in my session. So theme-based approach, of course, like I told you,
Miss
different.
Smriti, sorry
Uh,
to interrupt you, ma'am. Because of the time constraint, like if we can um, uh, finish the PPT in a couple of minutes, then we can have more room for the Q&A session, please.
okay, I can go ahead with that then.
Sorry for the inconvenience.
No problems, Ms. Ravina. So, okay, these were talked about. The theme should be age and developmentally appropriate and culturally appropriate. This is the process that you can take into consideration. It's on the screen. You can see the theme, then the concepts, then designing teaching and learning objectives, planning the integration, deciding on pedagogy, implementing the integrated curriculum, and assessing the impact. Some kind of integrations with the four major learning areas, conceptual learning, physical, and creative, can be like this, that if we have a theme in different subject areas, what are we doing for that particular theme? So that can be your integrated learning. This can be a fun way of integration when you have a thematic web. For a particular, under a particular theme, there's a particular topic that we're looking at. Fish, under aquatic animals. This was a integrated subject rhyme where music, movement, parts of the body, and numbers can be integrated. You can see it on the
One little thing.
So I'll not go into that, but you will see that how music, movement, activities, hands-on learning is integrated with the parts of the body, colors, numbers, etc. So just one very important point I want to tell you is, like I was asking you, is one theme per month a good idea? This is an example. You're doing professions or community helpers, but if you're doing an architect, it would have types of houses also coming in. It would also come in other professions of masons, carpenters, and extra. Then how is it construction being happening? So vehicles also come in. Same thing with the policeman or with the animals, a very large theme, but it can cover a lot of other themes in itself with other subject areas. So, conceptual learning, where we want critical thinkers to be developed and having that ideas. This is on the screen for the conceptual learning. You can read it out later. And then let's just go to one very important factor of the scientific method of creating critical thinkers is you have the students make an observation, ask a question, create a hypothesis, and predict, test, and then analyze. That is for the learning and float and think experiment. For active learning, these are the questions. Let the children do these activities themselves and find out. Now, for an orange also, it would be whether the orange would float or sink in water when it's peeled or unpeeled. This is a small video showcasing that. We can see that later. Integration of science and math in float and sink experiment. And there are a few more integration worksheets that I can show you. Language or EVS with mathematics. When writing A, coloring the objects with A, then making a data representation of how many objects did you color with letter A or how many parts of the bodies are you writing in numbers. Or an EVS integration with language of having your rhymes, language rhymes, articulation with a theme of EVS. Thank you very much. That would be my PPT for now.
Thank you, ma'am. If you can stop sharing the screen.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ms. Smriti. We have one audience here, Ms. Rashmi Surana.
Okay.
So, Ms. Rashmi, any questions, ma'am? You can unmute yourself and ask, Ms. Smriti. Ms. Rashmi? Okay. So, ma'am, Ms. Smriti, I have received a couple of questions from the previous speakers.
Mm-hmm.
So, what strategies can be used to support children with varying abilities or learning styles?
Okay, so learning style, when we're talking about, there are the VARK learners. So that's VARK. There are visual learners, auditory learners, there are kinesthetic learners, and they're readers. So the children who actually learn the best when you show them a digital or a flashcard or a story theme-based picture. So they are visual learners. So when you are planning on a concept or when you're planning on a particular unit, please ensure that you have all the resources and materials for all these four kinds of learners. That is the visual learners. You show something, there should be an auditory, you can have an audio clip, you can have a story, you can have a rhyme, or you can have any kind of a thing where the children are listening to something very intently. So you can have a visual, you can have an auditory. Kinesthetic learners will learn the best when there's movement and there are hands-on activities. So plan on a task like that. So if you have a 30 to 40 minutes period for a particular concept, please divide it into 10, 10, 10, 10. And at the end, you can have your evaluation based exercise, whatever you want to do, or probably keep the evaluation for the next day. Because if you are doing a concept for the first time or the second time, let's have an evaluation based exercise at the end. Now we know that we are have in our classrooms we have a lot of other children also who are differently or specially abled, or they're gifted children. So for them again, you will have to make a differentiated learning plan based on the skills and the kind of learning disposition that they have. But that can easily be done. It's not difficult at all. It looks difficult because we have a number of children in our classrooms, which is huge. But then, if you are strategically thinking about it, you can do it. And that would, of course, take another session.
Right.
Good afternoon,
Mr.
ma'am.
Yeah, Rashmi, please
Yeah,
go
I
ahead.
wasn't able to unmute earlier, so I couldn't reply.
No
Hello,
problem.
This
Rashmi.
is,
How are you?
I'm good, ma'am. If you remember, I was with Bibgyor Marthahalli, pre-primary coordinator,
All
and I've
right.
gone through many sessions of training with you.
How
And
nice.
so whenever I
Ah,
see
now
some
I see
session,
you. Right, Rashmi.
whenever I see a session which is with you, I am there. I have started my own setup where I do personalized learning for children, whether
Okay.
it's like right from the early childhood, because that's been my forte. So
Right.
since I'm doing one-on-one sessions now, I am also having children with neurodivergency who have a
Okay.
little bit of autism. So right now I am dealing with a child who's 9, but she has the capability of in terms of learning as an a 5 6 year old 4 5 year old.
Okay. Right.
And I have seen that her interest lies more in doing hands on, as you were explaining. So she loves playing pretend plays, creating stories and toys and stuff. So I just wanted to get a few insights from you, what best I can do. I mean, I have been dealing, getting her some toys and some, some children picture cutouts where she pretends that they are her classmates. She goes to a special school.
Okay.
And through that, we build up to story that one day it's a movie time, one day it's a baking time. So what all we need, and her friends are involved. What best I can do to help her? She writes little. She can speak very well.
Right. See, so first thing, Rashmi, writing is not important. Correct?
Yes, correct. Yeah,
Type. Now we are typing.
yeah.
We
That's been
ourselves are not writing. So
yes.
it's not important to write. So if she's not writing, that's not a problem. Is she learning? That's our main focus should be, is she learning? Now,
Okay.
learning can be in different ways. You can keep an iPad for her. Where she can actually type, or she can show, or you can have a paint application on your iPad where she can draw
Okay.
or paint and show you what she knows about a particular concept or a particular skill that you want her to learn. Huh? So, for different concepts have different strategies. So, somewhere it can be an hypothesis experimentation that you ask her a question and let her give you an answer. It's just a general prediction. She can just say anything what she wants. Now, you say, because you said this, let's try it out whether it is working or not. Like I
Okay.
just showed you this float and sink experiment in my presentation right
Yes.
now.
Yes.
Just give her four questions and ask her,
Okay.
do you know these answers to these? Let it be an open-ended thing. Let
Okay.
her give you the answer, but then don't stop there. Have
Okay.
your materials and resources ready for her to test her answers.
Okay. So
Okay.
small experiment
Very
kind of
small,
stuff.
small experiments types, huh? But
Okay.
then the thing is that slowly and steadily, what we will be doing is we will be building on her cognitive abilities to think logically.
Okay.
Yeah. So because like you said that, she's already going to a special school, they must be doing all kind of activities with her for,
Yes.
yeah, as an occupational therapy, they would be doing it. The
Mm.
activities would be based on those. So how do you help her is actually building on her cognitive abilities, which
Mm.
has logical thinking. And because she loves to speak and she can speak well, give her a
Yeah.
lot of articulation and elocution kind of activities where she's talking
Okay.
about a particular concept. So,
So something like show and tell and stuff like that.
something like show and tell, or also like you give her a real world problem, related to real life
Okay.
and related to real life and talk to her. So, give me an
Okay.
example of a concept that you're doing right now with her.
Right now we were doing about baking. So like I had certain pictures which on certain small toys which had a
Hmm.
cupcake and a cake and certain magnets. So we
Ah,
were talking about in detail. So how do we do things? Is it something which we cook, pressure cook, or is it something we bake? And what are the ingredients?
right. So you can show her some YouTube videos on baking.
Okay.
Yeah, you can,
Yes.
if you have a cake shop or something near you, and you can want to take her as a field trip, you can do that with her parents,
Okay.
of course.
Yeah.
You can do that and show it to her. You know, we were
Okay.
doing baking. See, they're baking every day. And look what all they bake. So you can just
Yes.
have that kind of an experiment for them. See, these children, know, they love to have a real life feel on, touch on experience. So the
Correct.
moment
Correct.
she'll go to a cake shop or a bakery shop, she would like actually connect the learning to a real life scenario, which is again very
Okay.
important. And the
Okay.
second thing, if you show her some YouTube videos of actually pizzas baking, cakes baking, and all, it's good
Yeah.
enough. You know, she will understand from there. So it's these kind of things that I'm telling you. You integrate multi-diverse medias into it so that that
Okay.
learning is happening.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, yes, this helps me immensely, ma'am. I would keep you
Most welcome.
updated with this. Yeah.
Yeah, please let me do that. Message me once you do this.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, I will.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
sure.
you keep connected to me. You want these ideas? Okay, fine. It's just
Yes, yes,
no
I'll keep
problem.
connected. I am working on my smaller center. So
No
let's see how
problems.
it goes.
Anytime
Yeah.
that you need any help.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Most
Thank,
welcome.
thank you, Miss
Thank you.
Rashmi. Thank you for
Thank
asking
you
the
for this
question.
session. Yes.
Yes, ma'am. Because as I mentioned, that because of the time constraint, ma'am, we
Yeah.
have to end the session. And thank you so much, Miss Smriti, for detailing explaining each and every point. And I hope the audience who watch this session also, okay, will enjoy the session. And before I end the session, anything else you want to mention, ma'am?
No, thank you, Ms. Pravina, for being a great coordinator in the entire session. And I'm glad. And I would like to tell all the educators who would be watching this, please do not hesitate to connect back. I mentor a lot of educators, and you feel any difficulty, my entire purpose is to help in the education field as much as possible. And please be stay connected to the school reformers because they have so many nice content and nice speakers who are actually, when I went to their website, I was quite pleasantly surprised that they have so many content for the school educators to not only get reformed but enriched. Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you so much, ma'am. I'll end the session now.
Thank you.